Welcome back to another episode of Podcast Demastered, a place where we celebrate our love for all things nerdy. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Wade.
On today's episode, we will be demastering Heartstopper Forever.
Heartstopper Forever!
Yes, this is the conclusion to the beloved Netflix TV show that we both have enjoyed. We covered in an episode last year in June, talking all about the series, and now we've made it to the end. And what an ending it was.
It's been such a long way. Yeah, I know. And
it was such an interesting concept, because I think when we talked about this in our previous Heartstopper episode, we talked about how we had already found out then that they had essentially canceled the show, but then they were coming back for one last chance to wrap up the story, and it was going to be a movie. So it was interesting to see how they were going to take a show. Not that the show necessarily was super long each season. Each season had 8 episodes, but that's still a lot more time it takes to spend with the characters, see more growth through all these things. But in a movie, it kind of speeds things up in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie was probably right under 2 hours, so it wasn't necessarily super, super short, but it also wasn't, necessarily super long in that regard.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that when you choose any adaptation of anything, you choose a movie over a series. A singular movie at that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to readapt. You have to find a way to choose, okay, what's the important stuff? What is some extras that we can include? What are some things we have to cut? And just naturally you get less time with everybody. And I think that this movie specifically really felt that.
Mm.
And I don't think it was a bad decision. You get a movie, you got to do what you can. But this movie is really focused on Nick and Charlie.
Yes.
Really focused. And the friend group is all there.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet if you go and add up the seconds that each of them are on screen, it's not going to be very much.
No. And I think it's really interesting too. It's because for those who are familiar with the webcomic and then it be released as graphic novels, most of the time, yeah, in those you do see it really is Nick and Charlie, and you see a little bit of the friends here and there. But the show itself, we have grown to know and love the friend group. Friendship is what the entire series is about. So it is a little weird when we get to this movie being the ending and we're just but I need more of them. We've what's going actually on with our other characters?
Right. The show has brought the other characters up into the front with Nick and Charlie, expanded their storylines, created some new characters on top of that.
Yeah.
And we're especially by the end of season 3, every single character you could map out where they were, where they came from, how their feelings have evolved and changed on themselves and on others. And then the movie just kind of it's no, they had their ending in season 3. This isn't about them, even though some of the characters are going through some big things in the background that there isn't time to focus on that.
Yeah. And it was really interesting. So I rewatched the entire series. And so literally when I finished the final episode, we jumped right into the final episode of season 3. We jumped right into the movie. It was kind of jarring to me of the storyline, because there technically is a little bit of a time jump. I was trying to figure that out. The timing is really fast throughout the movie. We just hit one season, boom, the next one, and then it's over a year plus, I think, or right about at least the entire school year. It seems
it's the whole school year just about. But also the movie skips over. I noticed where the movie starts compared to where the graphic novel starts. Is quite a difference. The movie just kind of skips over a lot of the things that happen at the beginning of the graphic novel. And they just summarize it really fast amongst other scenes, at the beginning. Charlie getting ready to give his speech for head boy.
Yes.
At the beginning of the graphic novel, he hadn't even decided if he was going to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that the graphic novel establishes at the beginning that the movie has to just completely bound through,
Yeah. And also kind of related to that too, about that the graphic novel spends a little bit more time in those moments and really seeing those characters' feelings and the choices they're making, which is what we get to see in the TV show as well. Not that the show is boring or super slow in that regard, but it's just because there's a lot of deep emotions that happen with our characters. There's just a lot of thoughts and feelings that they all share, and they're in high school. It's all they're all growing up and learning how to handle life. And so, yeah, it's interesting with all the parts that we get to miss, but I do think that it is honestly helpful if you read the final volume of Heartstopper before watching the movie. I feel like it helps to fill in some of those gaps. But I also want to know too, like, for an outsider's perspective, if you never read the graphic novels, could you jump from the TV show into the movie and feel satisfied?
That's a great question. So, listeners, you'll have to let us know if you
Yeah.
fall into that category, because both of us had read the graphic novels
Mm-hmm.
and then read the newest volume. Because like the newest volume came out a
Yes. Like it
week
just came out.
before the
Mm-hmm.
movie came out. So, there wasn't a lot of time to process really like the ending, like the conclusion of the series before
Yeah.
the show is also ending. So it was a little like ah
Yeah. It was Heartstopper month indeed.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think listeners, we could probably like briefly touch upon like where our characters are at in this movie and what they go through briefly before we kind of talk more about our thoughts about it. So, because we've seen the friend group, we've seen Nick and Charlie, they fall in love, learn to grow, accepting who they are, and just like they're like slowly getting to the end of being in high school. It's Nick's last year. He and some of his other friends are trying to figure out, what's next for them. That's a big choice. I think anybody who has gotten to the point about to graduate, like what school are you going to go to? What are you going to do in life? What do you want to study? It's a lot of big decisions to put on
Yeah. Mhm.
children. Yeah. And so this movie is basically exploring everybody has made their decision of where they're going and, how they can hold on to those relationships or not hold on to them or wait and
Yeah, like what
see.
is the right decision? Which, I mean, what a heavy topic. You have all these kids in relationships that all look very different, which
Mm,
is something I love about Heartstopper, specifically like the show, the movie, is how they portray like so many different versions of like the life you can live, right?
yes.
They cover sexual orientations like in the broad spectrum that is. They cover it like just so well, and then even like relationships, like they can always look different. And I've always appreciated that. But you see that with the kids too, and how they're like going to like leave high school with that information. What should I do? What's the right answer? What's best for me? What's best for my partner?
hmm
What is it?
Yeah. And we also see a lot of too with gender identity as well. And that's such a big thing as well to go through in school as well. So we see that with some of our characters, some of the friend group who also have to learn with, yeah, how can they move forward with how their family has treated them or what that means for their next steps in life.
Hmm.
But you're right. It is very interesting because of the friend group and the different relationships. So many of them take so many different paths of what they choose to do after they graduate. And it's something that I wish we saw a little bit more of in the movie, especially with the friend group, because all those big decisions do happen in the background. But what we at least see for Nick and Charlie is that this is the first time it puts truly a strain on their relationship in the movie. It really shows that, like, everybody thought Nick and Charlie. They always say Nick and
Oh, they're
Charlie.
Nick and Charlie.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. Of course, they're the
You'll be
perfect
okay.
couple. Yeah, but it's like, when you're fighting for something to look perfect on the outside, to think that everything's fine, you are neglecting your own inner feelings and how to express them and how to handle them. And then adding to that, having somebody else in your life that you want to share life with, but you also don't know how to move forward. And it's also interesting, too, because in the show, you see a lot of that with a lot of hardship for Charlie, but we start seeing that more with Nick towards like the end of season 3-ish kind of, and then branching into the movie.
And I thought that was such like a good direction for Nick to go in, because like season 3 is all about Charlie and his problems and gaining that self-confidence back and that like gaining that self-love back for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then he succeeds in that, and but not it's not like he reaches it and he's done the
Perfect.
rest of
Yeah.
his life.
Mm-hmm.
He has to continue the work. He has to continue talking to himself, thinking about himself, taking care of himself.
Yeah.
And then starting of the movie, Nick reaches kind of this opposite place. Well, if I'm not there taking care of Charlie, if Charlie can do that on his own, what is my role in this relationship? If I can't be the perfect boyfriend, what
Mm-hmm.
am I to do? And like from early on, you could kind of see Nick in that direction,
Yeah.
but now it's something he's faced with. and he doesn't really know how to react. And really, that's kind of like the basis for several of the problems that
Yeah.
they have, like, in the relationship. It's not the fact that that's happening, it's that Nick doesn't know what he's feeling, much less like how to talk about it. And Charlie picks up really quickly, like, oh, there's something wrong. Oh, you're anxious. Just talk to me. It's okay. Put it in words the best as you can, and we'll move forward. And Nick becomes like angry several times. He's very sad about himself and thinking that he just like he has no future if he's not taking care of Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do feel like because we both read the graphic novel, so like we understand more of the context involving with like what's going on with Nick, I felt like we honestly missed one of the most important scenes in the movie. Nick like actually coming to terms with like his own feelings and learning to talk about it, because in the graphic novel he does talk to Charlie more about it, and like that is one of the biggest hurdles. I feel like unless I totally missed it in the movie, I felt like the more the focus in the movie was changing it to that like they kind of broke up. Like that's like the big thing, like everything led to the point in the movie where they're kind of broken up, they're on a weird break, they don't talk to each other, and like that's the problem. But like I feel like Nick doesn't actually address his real issues in the movie.
No, he doesn't, which that was something at first I was really confused about while I was watching the movie. Because we hit the point, like, where they go to that party,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of, like, weirdly, like, break up, not break up, They just kind of
Yeah.
stop talking to each other. They get upset at each other because Nick is, like, going through some stuff, and Charlie's just like, just talk to me. It's, like, we're Nick and Charlie, we communicate, but you've
Mm-hmm.
stopped communicating with, and then Nick panics because he's like,
Yeah.
so you would be better off without me. That's what you're saying. And that broke my heart, first off. 'Cause I'm like, that is, that is not what he said.
Yeah.
But like his, like, all of his doubts and stuff start to
It's
like
really
pop
came to
up.
the surface. Mm-hmm.
And then they're like broken up for a while. So that those scenes right there, that those take place in the Nick and Charlie book, like the
Mm.
novella, which I had honestly completely forgotten about.
Yeah, I had never read
So
it, so I
so
was
when
like
that
wondering if it was missing. Yeah.
yeah, so like when that happened, I was like, wait, because I knew that Nick and Charlie, like the book, takes place like in the middle of volume 6,
Okay, I was curious about
but
that.
is also like the end of the story. Like it also has like its own epilogue.
Mm.
And so I was like, wait a minute, oh, this must be that. So then, of course, I asked Brandon because he's read all the stuff. I was like, oh, is this Nick and Charlie? He was just like, and he looked at me like really sad. He was like, yeah. I was like,
Mm.
oh. But then by the time you get to like Pride and they're still not together yet, like they were in
Yeah.
the book, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no, this is serious. Like, everything's changing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But then they fix it, But that, I think they made this turn to like include Nick and Charlie, like the book.
Mm-hmm.
And in their decision to like focus on that plot point, which I think is an important one, it's like there to show like just because the relationship looks perfect doesn't mean that they don't have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Like look, they did break up, but then they got back together like comfortably, like not like Elle and Tao kind of do where they just keep getting mad at each other.
Yeah.
They really do work through their communication issues and they get back together. But in the graphic novel, yes, Nick does spend a lot more time like telling Charlie, like, I felt this because of this, and I'm thinking these things, which leads me to behaving this way. Like he really starts to like understand himself a lot better.
Yeah.
While in the movie, it's like, daddy issues. Yeah. And
Yes.
Nick is like, yo, yeah. And then like, yeah, that's kind of the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene at Sarah's birthday party where Nick and David kind of have their little moment of they
Mm-hmm.
quietly reconnect and realize they're not like each other's personal villains.
Yeah.
Even though Nick still like wants it to be that way, and David's just kind of like over it, like we don't have to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
You like Dad set us up this way. We don't have to like continue that. Like that helps fix a lot of what's going on in Nick's mind. Having that there helps him like open up to Charlie better. It was there in the movie, but it wasn't as like strong. It wasn't as important, I think.
Yeah. Which I felt like was a little weird to me, just because I feel like our characters' feelings and everything they're going through is a big part of what Heartstopper has been about.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Heartstopper is about the emotions and the connections. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, I wish there was a little bit more time added just to, at least reflect a little bit. We didn't need all the exact same things that happen in the graphic novel, but I wanted a little bit more with Nick.
Nick's progress and
Yeah.
his personal like emotional journey of understanding himself a little bit better. No, that needed to be there.
Yeah. But I did definitely have mixed feelings when I felt like the big part of the movie was like their kind of quote breakup. But I realized, unfortunately, it kind of needed to be in there for it to be structured as a movie. Like, because some of the scenes from, like, the volume are,
Yeah.
like, they're kind of out of order, but they had to do it to, like, structure it as a film versus just, like,
Yeah.
a TV show or something like that, or how.
And, you know, like, in the graphic novel, your, like, drama, your problem that you have to solve was Nick. You know, Nick
Mm-hmm.
going through his little personal arc. That was, like, the story of Volume 6. Maybe they felt that just wasn't strong enough. Like,
Yeah.
for a movie, you know?
Mm.
Or maybe they felt they couldn't have delved into it the right way in a movie. So they brought in Nick and Charlie, the plot of Nick and Charlie, and like, oh, we'll just do the little breakup, and we'll kind of like do a 2-for-1 on that, which I don't think quite worked out.
Yeah.
They resolved the breakup, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick's
Brushed it under the rug.
yeah, his like progression was just kind of like, oh, that happened off screen. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Which is kind of
All right.
weirdly where we saw a lot of things, unfortunately, like with the friend group and stuff. And I think that was one of the things I had a really big problem with was the choice of how they handled Elle and Tao. Because Elle and Tao in the show are very different characters in a sense. We've seen so much of them, so much of their growth compared to the graphic novels. And so, because I had read the last graphic novel before seeing the movie, I was like, I hope they don't do the same thing because it doesn't make sense for their relationship. They've already dealt with so much
I felt
back.
that way too.
Yeah.
I felt that way too.
Because we've
Yeah.
seen continuously with them, like, Tao just being fearful about being left behind, with Elle going to a different school, doing this and that. They've already been through all these difficult waves of talking about why Tao is fearful, like, that their relationship is not going to be an issue. They can still be together, but still be apart. And then it just, somehow, we're just going to take the same story but make it worse and explode, and like they can't be together and they fight all the time. And I'm like, but they were at a really good place at the end of season 3. They had already dealt with so many of those issues, and that was something too where we had seen Tao reflect on his life and growing up and why he was fearful of those things, about afraid of losing his friends, afraid of losing Elle, and just why he was so insecure at the time. But he was, yeah, like I said, he was in a better place compared to what they did with him in the movie.
Yeah, and I did like his little part in the epilogue where he does go to Berlin to see Elle. Like, I thought that was really cute. I liked that a lot. But yeah, like the fact that like they're like, well, the problem that kind of haunted us in season 3 was really just too much to overcome. And I think they did that in a way to like, we're representing all sides of like these kinds of relationships, and sometimes you have to break up because of like there's not a lack of love, like things just aren't, you know, you're not going in the same direction.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Tao wasn't going in a direction. He was still in high school, you know.
Yeah. And he
like
hadn't
Nick
made a
and Charlie's
decision
whole
of
problem.
where else he was going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nick and Charlie's whole thing was like, well, Nick has to leave. Can we do a long distance relationship? Also because Nick assumed that Charlie needed that physical presence,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to like not like relapse and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, will Charlie be okay without me while I leave? But it was actually the other way around. Is Nick gonna be okay without Charlie? Because Charlie was like, I'll be okay. Like, I'll come see you and it'll be fine. And then Nick is like, oh my God, I don't know who I am without you. Like, I don't know. I thought they did that enough with Nick and Charlie so that
we didn't
with
need it
Elle and
repeated,
Tao,
yeah.
like, Elle could leave, go be free on her own, live a life, and then when Tao's ready, he could come join her.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because there was nothing holding Tao back, realistically. Like, we have never seen anything where he had to stay where he was, or that he wanted to stay where he was.
He was just still in high school.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, I mean, Innocence too, yeah. Like you said, it does deal with those complications because they are not in the same year. So it's also just each of them at that different point of deciding what's next for their future, while also trying to figure out, yes, how to juggle those relationships. But I won't continue bashing. I'll just talk about a couple other things I found really weird with the movie. I mean, one thing that was very sad and unfortunate was that Olivia Colman was unable to return for this final part, who we had already missed, in season 3, but we did get the lovely Haley Atwell as our kind of substitute as Nick's aunt. but it was just sad to not see her in this. Not that the lady who plays Nick's mom was bad or anything. It was just like, it's just not quite the same.
I was like, all of those scenes where like she was talking to Nick, like the serious scenes,
Yeah.
I legitimately was like rewinding back in my head in Olivia Colman's voice. Like,
I was just
I'll
trying
do
to
this.
picture her. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny. So when they have the birthday party, I at first was like, wait, whose birthday is this? I was like, who is that lady again? Yeah. I was like,
I forgot whose birthday it was. I was like, it's not Nick's birthday. He's
Yeah.
already 18. What
I was
happened?
like, who's this
And then it was
lady?
like, oh, it's somebody said something about like 50 being like the new whatever, and I was like, oh right, it's Sarah's birthday.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That part was kind of funny. I laughed. I talked to Anna. I was like, I totally forgot who this was for a minute. And she's like, yeah. But
Legit.
there were two other interesting things. Because this was a movie, they chose to shoot it like a movie, unlike the TV show. So they chose to go in the where every movie has to be super high contrast, dark, deep
It's so
colors,
cinematic.
moody. Yes,
I was like,
and
whoa, this is crazy Heartstopper. Wow. Like
yeah.
scene 1, like
Harsh
the first
setting.
frame of Nick. I was like, am I watching Avengers Endgame? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I was like, we did not have to go that hard into the color grade, guys. Like, the TV show has its own coloring. Like, we could have kept the brightness. Because even though the show deals with heavy topics, like, we still keep that lighter, happier, like, color palette in a sense. And so I was sad to see that go. I'm like, just because it's a movie, guys, doesn't mean you have to stick to the same so-called format that everybody thinks is the proper format for movies. But
For real. Yeah.
And then also, so the TV show is rated TV-14. When the movie
oh my gosh,
started,
I noticed this too.
It was rated M. I was like, what are we
TVMA.
watching?
I was like, excuse me,
Yeah.
what?
Uh-huh.
Like, what in the heated rivalry is going on?
Well, and at first I was like, what is happening? Because in that first, like, second scene, I was like, whoa, where are we going with this? Let's go to the moody pier. It was like, because, like, it was very tasteful in the show when these characters are dealing with their sexual desires and stuff. Like, you don't see a lot. You saw a little bit more in this, or a little bit more of, like,
it was more like
side. Yeah,
it was more like you can heavily imply what is happening exactly right now. Like in the show, it's like,
yes.
okay, we'll move on. It's fine.
Yeah.
In the movie where you got like physical scenes,
yeah, you're like,
I was like, oh,
yeah,
like, I don't know.
It was.
I don't think I personally didn't need that, but okay.
I know. I felt like it was a little bit jarring too, because it's like, it's not like they, like, it wasn't that much of a time jump. Like, I get, like, the characters are developing their relationships and, like, they're wanting to do more things together as a couple, but I was like, this was my wholesome show. Not anymore. MA movie.
It's different kind of wholesome.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, moving on from that. So, overall, it was sad to see it go, but it was an interesting way to, I felt like, to end. It's always just hard going from, a TV show to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of just so many characters, and it's kind of weird to see that was the end. Like, the ending, I think, is fine. It just, I don't know if it hit me as much emotionally as the show had. But maybe that was just me.
No, same. But a lot of it was just like, we're watching a movie. We have a runtime. We have got to just get to the end of the story. So we just didn't spend as much time, even with Nick and Charlie, as we would have in the show, just because like the movie is like pushing Nick and Charlie through these hoops. Like, we got to get through this. Like, even when they were like after they like quote unquote broke up, it was like you didn't really feel it, you know?
Yeah.
Also because they're like, well, here's Charlie's side, and then here's Nick's side. If they had like put them together, maybe, so you were experiencing them both, I think maybe I would have felt that a little bit more. But actually, at first, the way they did it, where they kind of like, here's Charlie's perspective, and then, okay, the scene at the end of his segment where he's in his room on the floor and he's like crying and he's like trying to like do his like his therapy exercises to keep him grounded and stuff.
Yeah.
I almost cried at that. That was really powerful. And I hated they ended the scene with it like the darkness closing in on Charlie. Legitimately, because then it like rewinds and goes back to Nick's perspective when he gets in his car that night. And legitimately, I thought they were showing some really dark like future. Like, this is what happened,
Yes.
and they were inferring that like Charlie succumbed basically and
Yeah.
killed himself. But they're like, but look, this is Nick is going to like alter what he's going to do, and because that was Nick's fear, right?
Yeah, like that's I totally got that too at
Yeah,
first. I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "Oh, we're just watching what happens on Nick's
yeah.
side."
And I got really emotional like watching that with Charlie. I was like, oh my god, I can't. And then the
Yeah.
next scene, I was like, oh my god, he did it. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, what am I gonna do? And then, but then it's like, no, he's fine, it's okay. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh Jesus Christ. I wish they had like interwoven the scenes together
Yeah. No, you're so
because
right
I
about that.
panicked.
Yeah. No, I kind of like really forgot about when you were talking about them. Like, yeah, that's exactly what I felt too. I was like, yeah, is this an alternate timeline or something? Are we going to see, yeah, what happens differently? And I'm like, oh no, we're just seeing his side. And I was
Because
like,
it's like
oh, it would have been almost more
literally
effective.
Nick's
Yeah,
fear.
effective. Yeah.
Like Nick literally said, I had a dream that you died.
Mm.
Like, not because I killed you, but because I wasn't there when you relapsed and I could not help you and you committed suicide. And that's exactly what that scene was. So I was just like, I panicked. I did. I had big moments there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would have made it actually significantly more powerful. But there we go. We just rewrote it for us, guys.
Yeah, I did it. Where's my writing credit?
Coming soon. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
But yes, we get to finally close the chapter on Heartstopper. We've made it to the end. All the graphic novels are out. The entire story in TV show and film format is out. And
there's lots of side stories, side books.
Oh, yes.
Side novellas you can go read about like other characters, especially if you're really interested in like Tori, Charlie's sister. Like
she had
there's
like
she's
the best
got
scene in the movie too, by the way.
She
Her scene is good. Her scenes, yeah.
Which one? The one in the library?
I was gonna say all of them. That's what I realized. I was like, no,
all of them.
Yeah, I've always loved her. She's always been the quirky character, but I'm glad we got to see her more,
For
at
sure.
least a little bit in this, and her wrap up her story in the sense, or at least say out loud what had been going on for her, as well as also being there, of course, for Charlie, the actual number one supporter of Charlie.
Yeah, the actual ride or die.
Yes.
You know what I really liked at the end?
What?
The end credits. They were so cute. They used like actual panels from the graphic novel.
Yeah.
And like that like tied with the music. I was like, oh, this is because like we hit the ending and I didn't want to say it was like lackluster. I just didn't have like that emotional payoff. Like I was waiting for it to hit. It never really did. So while I was waiting, I was watching the credits. And I was like, oh, at least this is really cute. Like I like this.
Yeah, that's true. But overall, I think I'm happy. Like, I'm glad that this exists. Like, I'm glad that this exists at this point in time, that we can have overall such a positive LGBTQ show like this to explore all different types of relationships, feelings, just especially for that very important time in people's lives, going through high school and just
and I know people call it cringy a lot. Like it's not like, well, it's wholesome. It's not realistic. Like, okay, but like Heartstopper is such a positive reflection on the like queer teenage experience to show people that it does get better. There is plenty of life to enjoy. There's so much good that Heartstopper represents. Cringe is fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, and I think it's kind of looking at it too in a different way too. Like the story, it's not perfect. Like it's very realistic in a lot of ways. We're just seeing it from a group that like understands healthy communication is important. Like there are still very real, very serious, dark things that happen throughout this that like you can see happen in real life. So it's not unrealistic in that regard. So I don't think you can call it cringe. Like I think people look at romance and being like, oh, those two are just like so cute together, but ew, they're cringe.
Yeah, a lot of people it's like, well, it's only cringe because it's not you. Like if you were in that situation, you wouldn't think it was cringe,
Yeah.
But hey, here we are.
True. Yes. But yes, overall, happy that this exists.
Yes. Happy that it's over. We've reached the end and
what a journey.
Fighting with my life to not pre-order the vinyl collection. Trying really hard. We'll see.
It's so good. Yes.
Yeah. Man, the music in this whole series has been so good.
Yes.
We have individual playlists for every season.
Mm.
Like all the songs used gets their own playlist. And also in the graphic novels, like Charlie like gives Nick
Yeah.
playlists a lot, which are not the same playlists in the actual show. There's not the same songs. So
Mm.
I usually I make them in my phone and I send them to Brandon a lot.
Aw. That's sweet.
You're right, it is.
Yes, exactly. Not cringe. Sweet.
Not cringe, sweet.
Yes. Well, any other final notes about Heartstopper Forever?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, listeners, let us know if you have watched this movie and what you thought. But on that note, I think that'll do it for this episode.
And that's it for another episode of Podcast Demastered.
If you enjoyed hanging out with us today, don't forget to follow and subscribe, leave us a review, and tell a friend.
If you have an episode idea, send us an email at demasteredpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Facebook at Pod Demastered.
Thanks for listening, and tune in for the next time we demaster our favorite things on Podcast Demastered.